Hi folks, you're with Taskless today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how communism, socialism, Marxism has infected the Western education system. I think we're all aware of how merit-based, pass marks for exams has long gone out of the window, and merit's barely left. Even at the Ivy League schools, they've lowered standards for minorities in order to produce, as they call it, equity in the outcome, which means equal outcomes regardless of capacity, ability, intelligence, hard work, or any of those sorts of things. And it's very much a Marxist thing that if the person that is fit enough to work harder will produce more, and that's to be shared with the person who is less fit and can't work as hard or can't be bothered or is too lazy or whatever. So, and that creates equal outcomes. So if person one produces 200 units or something, but person two only produces 100 units, you put them together, makes 300, they get 150 units each. Now, according to Marxism, that's an equal outcome, it's equity, thus it's fair. According to capitalism, the thing is, well, hold on, why should I bust my ass to support other people? And this is a big issue with incentive. Why should I work harder when there's nothing in it for me? That type of thing. So incentive's a big issue here, and it also happens in school or anywhere for that matter. When incentive is taken away, but by use of this Marxist equal outcome equity thing, then the people who are the smartest, who are the hardest working, who are the fittest, who are the most capable, they don't try as hard, they don't work as hard, they don't use their brain power to the same extent. They just cruise and coast along. Because there's no benefit in being the best anymore. Now, sure, the Soviets had things like giving medals to people and so on, but that wears off pretty quickly. So now I had an incident that I just got reminded of this. I was watching a video about a guy who was talking about this similar sort of thing about why should the kid who's the brightest in the class work harder, study harder, hit the books harder if his marks were going to be taken away in effect and given to someone else. Now, assessment systems that were used in education very much sort of started, I guess, around the mid-70s, somewhere around there. And what they did is in Australia at least, they said, okay, half of your total mark is going to be made up, your grade is going to be made up out of an assessment. And so it's the teacher's assessment of how you participate in class, whether you're disruptive or well-behaved and so on. Now, it was, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that, but the kids who were the brightest, who did the best work and did the best in the exams, typically were the ones that participated in class and were the least disruptive. Not in every single instance, but certainly in just about every single instance. But what they used and different teachers varied, what they used the assessment system for was to try and push everyone into the middle and have everyone basically getting the same mark. So, if you had someone getting 90% in the exam, then they would get an assessment of 10%. You add 90 to 10, you get 100, so they got 50 overall. But if you get someone that got 1% in the exam, then they would get 100 in the assessment. Why, I don't know, but they, just ideologically, so they would also get a mark of 50. So they would be the same as the person, if someone who got 1% in the exam would end up with the same outcome as someone who got 90 in the exam. So that's how it was used. Now, but before that came in, or that wasn't universally applied across all schools and all subjects, but I was in one subject where the teacher handed out we had to do an assignment, and it was in like technical drawing, I guess you'd call it. And so, I was pretty good at that. So in the assignment, I got like 95% in the assignment. Now, whether or not the other kids didn't try hard enough, couldn't be bothered, or just weren't smart enough, or any or all of the above, I don't know. But I ended up coming first by quite a long shot. Like the next one was 70, for example, and then But as the teacher explained to me, nearly the whole class failed. Now, it was a tough assignment, and I had to go into the library and hit the books and that sort of stuff. But hey, but the teacher was sort of came to me. I guess I didn't quite see it coming. The teacher came to me and said, "Look, more than half the kids failed, and that's a bad thing, isn't it?" Oh, I suppose, yeah. So I'm going to give them their assignments back again. I'm going to give them another week to finish it, and I've marked it so they know which questions they flunked out on, or which questions they didn't cover in adequate detail, or whatever. But I'm not going to give you yours back because you've already got 95%. So why should I give you yours back? You're already first. You've already done well. So I'm going to keep yours back and another guy's back, but give all the other students their assignment papers back to redo. Now I sort of thought, well, that's not really fair. So I asked for mine back and said, well, look, if you've marked them and marked out what's missing, then now I know what to do. So I'll be able to get 100. I'll redo it because you're giving it back to them. Why can't I have it? And he tried to explain it to me in his own way, that equity, and it was one of the earliest, and I'm probably, I don't know, 12, 13 maybe at this stage. He's trying to explain to me how equity works, or one of the earlier attempts at it. So, well, you're bright anyway, and you're hardworking anyway, but the other kids aren't the same as that. Maybe they're lazy, maybe they're stupid. So they have to have a bigger opportunity to succeed than you do because you can do it much easier. And I was like, hey, hold on a minute. I took time off to go to the library and sat there for hours, beating my brains out to do this. So no, it wasn't. This didn't just sort of automatically drop out of the sky on me. I had to work for it. Yeah. But the mere fact that you're motivated enough to go to the library and apply yourself that way, that means you have an advantage other kids don't. Well, no. No, it just means that I wanted to do well and wanted to hand in a good assignment. Now, if the other kids aren't motivated in that same way, then hey, well, what's that got to do with equity? And I didn't understand what he's on about. Now, if someone tried that, of course, I'd know what they were talking about, but I didn't at the time. Now, so I ended up losing the opportunity. He just plain wouldn't give me my paper back. He tried to talk me out of it first, and when I said no, I want it back so I can get 100, then he just plain said no. But he gave the other kids back there. So and then he had like 3 or 4 kids tying for first place, and everybody passed, and it's like the participation trophy thing. Now, so what? That's no big deal. And it only dropped in my head, or it came into my head when I was watching this other video about a guy talking about something fairly similar. And I thought, hold on a minute, I remember that. And so I sort of sat down and thought about it and remembered the bits and pieces. But the big thing is the guy who was the teacher was giving me the big lecture on equity and that it's participation trophies and everyone has a right to be in the middle. Turns out he, and I sort of had to go back and do a little legwork on this. Turns out he was Jewish, and as far as I can tell, homosexual. So a homosexual Jewish teacher lecturing a 12, 13-year-old Gentile boy about social equity and equal outcomes. I mean, you couldn't read about it, and here it is, way back then. And it's even way worse today. But even at that time, the teachers had it very much in their mind about equity and the Marxist style equity and so on. And they didn't necessarily punish merit per se, but just made sure it wasn't rewarded, which is another way of punishing it. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.